Welcome to Matchpack, your guide to all the facts and figures ahead of the weekend's Premier League fixtures. Match week 1 brought 23 goals at an average of 2.87 per game. Crystal Palace got off to a winning start despite having just 29% possession against Southampton. This Saturday, Roy Hodgson's side travelled to Manchester United. We'll also be looking ahead to Newcastle against Brighton at St James's Park. The Magpies are off to a winning start in the Premier League for the first time in 8 years. And Mohamed Salah grabbed the first hat-trick of the season. Next up for Liverpool is a clash with the Egyptian's former club, Chelsea.
It was a winning start to the new campaign for Chelsea. Defenders Reece James and Kurt Zouma amongst the goals at Brighton. And the victory on the South Coast also gave fans a first glimpse of new signings Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. Both players impressed in Germany's Bundesliga last season with 40 goals and 14 assists between them. There's plenty of other fresh faces too, with Frank Lampard hoping the summer acquisitions will boost their chances of silverware.
It's going to take Chelsea a while before we see the very best of Kai Havertz and Werner and co. But certainly, I think we saw flashes and we saw glimpses. It wasn't the best Chelsea performance, but they did enough. They won the game. But we saw enough to leave us wanting more, to be excited about their prospects this season.
Now Chelsea's focus turns to Stamford Bridge, a place they made something of a fortress last term. The Blues conceded just 30% of their goals at home in 2019-20, but they couldn't have been handed many tougher tests at the start of their home campaign this time around.
They need to keep working, I think, quite hard at their defensive work. I do believe they have issues with the goalkeeper. I do think that's something that they can't let that get away from them. They've got to keep on top of Kepa, I feel, and really keep his confidence levels high. But if they do that, then they'll be very competitive this season.
Aimed in for flick, free free! Mo Salah slams it in, and Liverpool have their fourth.
Mo Salah's hat-trick against Leeds on match week 1 took him to 76 Premier League goals since arriving at Liverpool in the summer of 2017. In that time, the Egyptian king has netted 11 more than any other player in the competition.
There are a few players that I've seen over the weekend that I think have started right there, right at that sort of level. And, great goals. He's vitally important to his team. If he gets anywhere near the late 20s, 30 Premier League goals again this season, Mo Salah's going to be nudging his team towards another title.
It's not just up top that Liverpool have exciting options. Trent Alexander-Arnold has now broken the record for most assists by a defender 2 seasons running. On the other side of the pitch, Andrew Robertson has also contributed heavily over the last 2 campaigns.
I think that's just the way the game has developed. I think you can see those fullbacks that aren't quite good enough at the top of the field, and it really stands out. We know how many assists they both provide. So the role of a fullback has evolved. It's not just about being good on the edge of your own 18-yard box. It's what you can do up the top end of the field.
Interestingly, many of Chelsea's stats from their last Premier League campaign were similar or better than the eventual title winners. The Blues had more shots, created more chances and had a higher expected goals tally than the Reds. While promising, Frank Lampard needs his side to turn those stats into results to close the gap this term. Despite all that, when they met in this competition last season, Chelsea lost on both occasions. 2 goals from set pieces saw Liverpool run out 2-1 winners at the Bridge. It was a similar story at Anfield in July as Liverpool won 5-3. One of their goals that night came from a corner, and in total last season they scored more from corners than any other team. Worryingly for Chelsea, the defensive stats in this category reflect badly on them. This was a particular weakness in Lampard's debut season. Only relegated Norwich let in more than the Blues 10. And their overall record against Liverpool doesn't make for positive reading either. They've been beaten by the Reds 22 times in the Premier League, more than any other opponent they faced in the competition. But while the stats all point that way, don't think you can pencil in an away victory on Sunday just yet.
Real difficult game to call. I mean, again, it's very early days. We've not seen an awful lot of either team so far. I don't see the champions get beat, but I'm not sure they'll go to Stamford Bridge and win either. I'm really looking forward to the game. I think you've got so many quality players out there. It'll be the biggest test both teams have experienced so far, and it's a game of significance and importance. You win this one, you lay down a serious marker.
unlikely to forget Manchester City's last visit to Molineux in a hurry. The visitors took a 2-goal lead despite being a man down, before the home side staged a memorable comeback. Raul Jimenez levelled the game at 2-2, before Matt Doherty's 89th minute goal ensured a famous victory for the Wanderers. That goal against City was Jimenez's 21st in the Premier League, a tally that now stands at 31 following his strike against Sheffield United in Wolves' first game of the season. He's now scored at least 9 more than any other player for the club. Roman Saiss got the other goal against the Blades as Wolves scored twice in the first 6 minutes to secure victory at Bramall Lane. They now welcome City, hoping to win their opening 2 Premier League games for just the second time in their history. Pep Guardiola's side scored a league-high 102 goals last season, including 21 in their final 5 games. But having lost to Wolves home and away in 2019-20, they'll need to perform at both ends of the pitch to start their campaign with a win.
Hello, I'm up to Joe's Duncan Alexander, and after Wolves started their new season in excellent fashion by winning 2-0 away to Sheffield United, I'm here to look at the impact Portuguese players have made both at Wolves and in the Premier League at large. Wolves are rightly thankful for the impact Portuguese players have had on their club in the Premier League era. As it stands, 14% of their appearances have been made by Portuguese players, 13% of their goals have come from Portuguese players, and a massive 19% of assists have come from Portuguese players. Ruben Neves continues to do the best of his work for Wolves in the Premier League from outside the penalty area. In 74 Premier League appearances for the club, he's only ever had 6 touches inside the box. He has managed to score 6 goals though, but you won't be surprised to learn that 4 of those have come from long range. Talking of long-range specialists, Pedro Mendes only ever scored 6 goals in the Premier League, but all 6 of them came from outside the box. In fact, 114 of his 120 shots in the Premier League came from long range, including one that really should have counted for a 7th goal. Surely Portugal's greatest ever footballer, Cristiano Ronaldo's best season for Manchester United in the Premier League was the 2007-08 campaign when he scored 31 goals, becoming the first Manchester United player to score 30 or more in the league season in the top flight since Dennis Law back in 1963-64. And finally, Bruno Fernandes' impact was one of the main reasons that Manchester United were able to finish 3rd last season. The winter signing got 6 assists in his first 10 Premier League appearances, which is a joint record alongside Ian Robben, Angel Di Maria, Mesut Ozil, Lee Sharp, David Ginola and Dusan Tadic.
3 points last Saturday and 3 years on the new deal for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang means the picture is positive at the Emirates. For West Ham, however, a 2-0 defeat at home to Newcastle made it a disappointing start to the new season. That match at the London Stadium was level for 56 minutes, but after falling behind, there was no way back for David Moyes' side. By contrast, Arsenal were in cruise control at Craven Cottage, taking an 8th-minute lead and never looking back. There may be sterner tests to come, but it was a comprehensive all-round attacking display from Mikel Arteta's men. The movement of the ball across the pitch left Fulham with no answers, the 3rd goal in particular drawing many plaudits.
Willian will be able to take over. Aubameyang on the end of the crossfield ball. This is dangerous. It's a magnificent finish from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
A key man for West Ham could be skipper Mark Noble. He spent a career in the Hammers midfield, protecting the defence and keeping things ticking over. He's also 1 goal away from equalling the club's all-time record in the competition. As you might expect, it's the Gunners who have historically had more enjoyment in this matchup. They've racked up 31 wins to West Ham's 8 minutes, eventually running out 5-1 winners.
Aston Villa have tied down Jack Grealish to a new 5-year contract. The midfielder scored a career-high 8 league goals for the club last season as they narrowly avoided relegation.
Turn again by Davis. It's John McGinn. Finding Grealish. Grealish! Stunning! Scintillating! Surviving!
A 2-0 defeat at home to Wolves on Monday means Sheffield United have now lost their last 4 games in all competitions. competitions, the longest losing streak since Chris Wilde's arrival as manager in 2016.
Looking towards Raul Jimenez here, and what a start! Raul Jimenez with a fantastic finish inside 2.5 minutes.
Two of the three promoted sides meet at Ellen Road on Saturday as Leeds host Fulham. Both ended match week 1 empty-handed, but it was unquestionably Marcelo Bielsa's side who gave a better account of themselves despite that late defeat at Anfield. Fulham boss Scott Parker will be hoping his side could compete much better than they did against Arsenal last time out. The Cottagers spent almost the whole game in a losing position as they were served a harsh reminder of the step-up in quality they faced this term. Leeds may also have suffered defeat, but going toe-to-toe with the champions for much of that match bodes well. They concentrated nearly half their attacks down the left flank, with Jack Harrison enjoying an excellent Premier League debut despite ending up on the losing side.
Harrison again, he's made some space here. It's a good hit, it's an equaliser. And Leeds have their golden moment.
Tom Kearney is likely to be a central figure for the visitors. He had more touches than any of his teammates last weekend and took excellent care of the ball too. He was the most accurate passer of all outfield players to start on match week 1. With the majority of Leeds' Premier League past being before Fulham's first promotion to this division, there have only been 6 previous meetings. Fulham shaved the head-to-head victories 3-2, though it was Leeds who won by that scoreline in the pair's most entertaining match-up in 2003-04. Louis Saha's double looked to have salvaged a point for the Londoners, but a late touch from Dominic Matteo sealed a dramatic Leeds win.
Now time for our quiz question. Ellen Road will host its first Premier League game for 16 years this weekend, but can you name the last Leeds player to score a goal there in the top flight? The answer's coming up later in the show.
Flicks on for Ayew. Big chance for Palace, which is taken. Martial for James. Looking to bend it. And it's Van Aanholt. Oh, and squeezed through.
Crystal Palace's last trip to Old Trafford saw them earn their first ever Premier League win over Man United after 20 unsuccessful attempts. The Red Devils are yet to play this term, but will be keen to pick up where they left off. They're the only side undefeated since the mid-June restart.
I think they probably slightly overachieved, especially, where they were, 6 months ago when it looked like, they could potentially finish, 7th or 8th. So I think to get into the position they did, I think Ole Gunnar did a fabulous job.
Marcus Rashford sits a couple down and scores. Rashford, Martial, that is a sumptuous goal.
2019-20 was a good campaign for Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial, who both scored 17 times in the league. In fact, you'd have to go back 15 seasons to find another United duo who both scored more than 15 times in a single campaign. It's a list that features some of the club's greatest forwards, including the current manager. This match should see defender Aaron Wan-Bissaka face his former club, but how do his United numbers compare to his last season at Palace? In an identical number of games, he made a league-high 129 tackles, matching his previous tally exactly. He may have made fewer clearances, but has adapted well to life at Old Trafford.
I think he's been good, really good actually. I think defensively, everybody says 1v1, he's probably the best player in the Premier League. I think because he's athletic. I was the same. I could attack everyone because I knew even if they got around me, I was quick enough to get back. But I think if he can improve on the offensive side and just trust his offensive game, in terms of getting crosses in, getting up the line, getting in that position, which I know Ollie's working on, then I think he's going to be, world class.
Palace swarming forward here. Here's Zaha! Wilfried Zaha has absolutely buried it.
Zaha's opening day winner against Southampton was a welcome boost for both a player and a team that's been struggling in front of goal. Zaha himself only netted 4 times in the league last season, and collectively Palace had the second worst record for goals, total shots and shots on target. Eagles fans will be hoping that the arrival of new signing Ebere Eze from QPR will help change that. The 22-year-old attacking midfielder scored 14 times in the Championship last term, and no other player in that division completed more dribbles. Eze is an exciting talent and will now be eager to shine in the Premier League.
I think he's just one of those players. He gets you off your seat, technically good player. Does almost the unexpected, which you want from those types of players. So I think a bit of creativity is what that side would need, then in terms of they lack goals.
His arrival might also help lower Palace's average age, which was by some distance the league's oldest last season. Manchester United, in contrast, fielded the youngest average starting 11 with almost 5 years difference. But could the visitors' added experience be a factor this weekend?
If you're Roy Hodgson, you pride yourself on having a great defensive unit, and I think young players, one thing they want to do is get forward. They want to attack, and it takes time to learn some of those principles that he does so well. And I think having an experienced team suits his style of play.
Solskjaer's young guns will be firm favourites to start their season in style, but can Hodgson's older heads prevail once again?
Southampton have now failed to win any of their last 7 games on the opening weekend of the Premier League season. Despite having over 70% possession, they lost 1-0 to Crystal Palace.
Romeu, Walker-Peters. Oh, and what a save to deny Ings. Astonishing save from Guaita. Deep into stoppage time.
Jose Mourinho tasted defeat on the opening day of a league campaign for the very first time in his career. Spurs beaten 1-0 at home by Carlo Ancelotti's Everton.
It's Son Heung-min. Kane is all on his own if Son can see the pass. Son can see Dele Alli. And Dele Alli draws from Jordan Pickford. A spectacular save.
Mourinho's loss was Carlo Ancelotti's gain. He guided Everton to victory with their new-look midfield in particular impressing. A clean sheet and 3 points gave them the perfect start. Now they welcome West Brom, whose Premier League return did not go as Slaven Bilic would have liked. His side held Leicester until the 56th minute and were unable to find a reply. Everton's breakthrough came at almost exactly the same point in the match, and they saw out the remainder of the game with relative ease. The Maggies tried to get the ball wide as much as possible. They had the second lowest percentage of attacks through the middle of all teams in match week 1. Mateus Pereira started on the right but was kept quiet and now faces one of the division's best left-backs.
Coutinho wonderfully attacked by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now that is a number 9 goal.
Luca Dean played a key role in the win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, providing that perfect delivery for Dominic Calvert-Lewin's winner. The Frenchman also got through his fair share of defensive work, making 7 clearances. Everton have the historical edge over West Brom over the Midlanders in 2016-17. The game at Goodison Park that season couldn't have been more straightforward for the Toffees, as goals from Kevin Morales, Morgan Schneiderlin and Romelu Lukaku eased them to a 3-0 win.
Was deflected and flicks on then toward that near post, and a debut goal for Cameron Wilson. Jeff Hendrick. Oh, it's 2-0. Fine finish by Jeff Hendrick.
Having finished the last campaign winless in 6, Newcastle's victory against West Ham was the ideal start to the new season for Steve Bruce. It was one to remember for debutant Jeff Hendrick too, as he provided a goal and an assist in the same game for the first time in 123 Premier League appearances. Another new arrival, Callum Wilson, also made a fine first impression. His 56th minute goal was his 8th against West Ham, the side he scored against the most since his Premier League debut in August 2015. In that time, he's averaged a 23.6% shot conversion rate, a number not far off some of the division's most feared forwards.
Taylor made to go into this Newcastle side under Steve Bruce and score goals, got off to the mark.
against West Ham, and he played really well. He looked really sharp. He didn't look as though he was lacking any match fitness. So I think the signings that Steve Bruce has made a lot of Premier League appearances between them, so they should hit the ground running.
Another positive Steve Bruce can take from last weekend's result was the comfort with which they achieved their 2-0 scoreline. Last term, winning by a 2-goal margin was a rarity for the Magpies. In fact, only relegated Norwich managed that feat on fewer occasions.
Newcastle coming forward with a little bit of menace here. Oh, it's missed by Stevens, and it's a goal! Newcastle United have the breakthrough.
One of the men most likely to bring Sunday's game to life is Alan Saint-Maximin. Last season, only Adama Traore averaged more successful dribbles than the Frenchman. If he features on Sunday and gets into his stride, the fans watching at home could be in for a treat.
Cool, very cool. Long range effort and an equaliser from Trossard. Here's Reece James, gonna try his luck. Oh, what a goal from him! Oh, and it's deflected in.
Despite defeat to Chelsea, Brighton did have the majority of possession, a trend that's been notable under the stewardship of Graham Potter. In fact, since his arrival, they boast the 8th most successful passes in the league, an impressive figure. Potter looks to be establishing an identity, but converting neat and tidy football into goals remains the challenge. And historically, in Brighton's matchups with Newcastle, there's been an average of just 0.6 goals per game. Of all Premier League fixtures with at least 3 previous meetings, this is the lowest scoring. Captaining Brighton's charge on Sunday will be Lewis Dunk. The defender was integral to the Seagulls' survival last campaign, leading by example in a number of key statistics. Just how important is he?
Lewis Dunk is a major player for them. He's been linked with some big moves away. Again, he's a player that can play in a 2 or play in a 3, very commanding. If teams are getting out wide and put crosses in the box, he's a defender that likes to step into centre forward so he gets tight. He knows the game, he's very verbal as well, so he organises people around him. So I think it was vitally important if Brighton are going to stay up, that they kept hold of Lewis Dunk.
Despite this fixture being a stalemate last campaign, it was at least another point on the road for Brighton. In total, they managed 19 points on their travels, a considerable improvement on their 2 previous seasons at this level, another promising sign of life under Potter. So, with Newcastle brimming with confidence and Brighton eager to get off the mark, the stage is set for Sunday's clash at St James's Park.
Earlier, we asked you to name the last Leeds player to score a Premier League goal at Elland Road. The answer is Alan Smith. The boyhood Leeds supporter converted from the spot against Charlton in May 2004 and was mobbed by fans at full time. Little did they know he'd be heading to bitter rivals Manchester United.
Burnley get their Premier League campaign underway with a trip to Leicester. They beat 2-1 after coming from behind at Turf Moor back in January. Chris Wood started a comeback. Nick Pope saved Jamie Vardy's penalty with the game tied at 1-1. Before Ashley Westwood secured all 3 points for the home side 11 minutes from time. Leicester limped across the finishing line last season, so a fast start was much welcomed in match week 1. Their 3-0 win over West Brom, including 7 shots on target, more than any other side managed on the opening weekend. A debut goal for Timothy Castagna and 2 penalties from Jamie Vardy sealed that perfect start at the Hawthorns, and they'll fancy their chances again this weekend. The Foxes are unbeaten in their last 9 home league games against Burnley. But if the Foxes are to take all 3 points, they'll have to find a way to cope with their visitors' aerial threat. The Clarets won more aerial duels than any other team last season, and no player scored more headed goals than the man who scored home and away against them last season, Chris Wood.
The season is up and running, and after some impressive displays in match week 1, there is a full programme of 10 matches this weekend. After their positive start on the road, Everton play their first home game of the campaign. West Brom are their visitors. Later on Saturday, Manchester United get their season started against Palace. Sunday see Southampton against Spurs at St Mary's. And 2 more games on Monday. Aston Villa host Sheffield United before Wolves versus City. But the standout match is in West London as Chelsea